Hello everyone, hope you're doing great and welcome to this new video. Today we're talking about Ahri, especially my deck list for Ahri, which I think makes her one of the better legends available in set 1 Origins. I think she's severely underestimated and underplayed, and today we're trying to fix that. I'm going to give you feedbacks based on my experience playing the deck through various locals and training sessions, and I hope it can help you understand better how it works, makes you want to try it. And if you like this format and this type of video, let me know down in the comments and feel free to like the video so I can potentially give you more deck techs regarding other legends. Before going straight to the deck profile, I think I need to talk a bit about why I think Ahri is such a strong legend, and in my opinion there are two reasons. The first one is her color combination, because I think blue and green are probably the best combination of color available in the game as of now. Green has so many exclusive tools such as Defy, Windwall, and cheap buffs like Angward and Discipline. And blue is such a great support color with cards like Stupefy, Consult the Past, cheap accelerates like Mother Sprite, surprising tech options like Blastcone Fey. So I really think these two colors combined are one of, if not the best association of colors in the game. Second thing is Ahri's Legend effect, which gives -1 might to every unit attacking the battlefield you control, and I think it's a very strong effect that basically guarantees you the win against matchups that like to go wide, such as Set, mid-range E, Victor. Matchups that do attack you with a lot of small units are very favorable for you, and so you can focus your deck building on one thing, which is beating big bodies. And it's very efficient to be able to do so in the current format when you're facing decks like Aurora MF, Aurora Master E, or even Kai'Sa with the Darius that comes straight at you with 7 might, and you get the ability to trade with these bodies very well since you're deck building focusing on this. So I think in the current format Ahri is one of the stronger legends, and I wanted to give you a bit more insights. Last thing before we get to the profile, I'm sorry the quality of the image is a bit blurry. I noticed it after recording it on stream, but no worries, I will pop every card on your screen so you can read the effect. So sorry for it being blurry, but please bear with me and I'll fix it for the upcoming videos. Enjoy. Alright, so let's go. Tonight we're talking about Ahri. I think Ahri is a very strong legend. I think Time Warp is bait. I don't think you need Time Warp to win in Ahri. You don't need to rely on a gimmicky combo that you can pull some like 1 game out of 3 or 4 or whatever. Now I was talking about her effect, which is like whenever an opponent attacks you, they get -1 might for every unit that's attacking. So let's say they attack with 2 units, they get 2 might, and it's fine. It's even with what would be Mastery's effect, which gives you +2 when you're defending. And whenever they get to attack with a higher number, then you get the win. So first thing first, let's like kind of a checklist of what you want to achieve to enable this effect. First thing first, you need to hold battlefields. So that means having units that stick on board, having units that can stay through blasts, through effects, through attacks, and also, because that's something that's very important in the game as of now, having the ability to accelerate. So whenever you get blasted or you lose a battlefield, you can get back onto it quickly, and like basically a tempo deck. Ahri does not need so many resources to work. You can have like 5 to 6 mana and like trade with Yi when he has 12, no problem. But what's very important are the resources in hand, so the amount of cards in hand, so you can threaten to react during their turn, and the fact that you can control the board. So tempo is the most important thing with Ahri. You have to understand the concept of tempo, and if it's not clear with you guys or girls, please, I beg you, ask me in the chat. Let me know, and I can explain in like deeper ways what tempo is about. But it's the most important thing with Ahri, knowing when you are behind, when to retreat, when to drop bodies, when to keep mana. Something I do very often, and by very often I mean like every game, is my board is like this. So I have like whatever 6 runes. I have like 1 unit in the battlefield, 1 unit in base, like let's say something like this. And I'm ahead in points, and you have like 2 opportunities there. First thing would be, I can get there, use some of my resources to like push, so to use like, I don't know, like a smoke screen to kill the enemy unit and then get there, score the points. but that's not what you want to do. Once again, tempo is very important. So something I'm doing like almost every game is I'm exactly this board state and I'm like, pass. Why? Because I'm ahead. Like, let's say I have like 2 points, my opponent has like 1, whatever, then I just pass because they have to come crashing into me. I'm not the one that's late in the game. Doing this would be greedy because if they find a way to clear these 2 units, then I have no tempo left at all. I have no boards, no way to pressure the game state, and I'm very much done for. Pretty much done for. So, if you pass here, they can also like do their thing and pass again. Then you drop like another Poro and pass with like something like that, whatever. Basically how the game will go is like you have 2, they get to 2, you get to 3, they get to 3, you get to 4, and so on until you get to 8 and they're at 7. So at some point, they will have to commit into your board, and that's when you want to surprise them because you have so many cards that can surprise the opponent and take over his resources during his turn that you can basically force them to come and they are like 100% certain to lose, but they have to. So look at all the cards I'm putting on the board right now. All these cards, all of these cards. So it's like, you see, there's like Poro and the champion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are like 14 cards out of the 40 in the deck that are not interactions. All of the deck is based around interacting during your opponent's turn, taking the lead, and forcing them to commit onto you to gain advantage, to regain tempo. So that's the way I build this deck. And I think the Ramp Yi matchup is very, very, very favored for Ahri. I think it's like 70-30, if not like 80-20 for Ahri. So I'm going to explain every choice in the list to you now. Once again, in the comments, in the Twitch chat, feel free to ask anything. And let's go. So the first thing I talked about was the legend. Now comes the champion. I don't want to play Green Ahri. So as a reminder, for you guys who do not know the card, Green Ahri is a 5 energy and 1 power card that only has 4 might. So it's very understat. Like most of the cards in the game are like 3-4-3 and no burn, or like 3-4-4 and a burn. But this card is 5-4-4 and a burn, so it's like dog shit. And it does not fit with what I want to do with the leader ability. On the other end, this card, the blue Ahri champion, is absolutely insane in what you want to do with the deck. Remember what I told you? What's very important is the difference in might you are able to generate. This card does exactly that because whenever it attacks or defense, you can reduce the might of an enemy unit here by 2. And that's extremely important because let's say I'm fighting against I'm at the battlefield, alright? And then a Date Bloom Predators comes to trade me from Yi. So it's 8 might. Then Ahri's effect triggers, it goes to 7 might. Then this Ahri's effect triggers, it goes to 5 might. And now any buff, like let's say I play Discipline on this Ahri, makes it a 5/5 trade. And for 2 mana, I dealt with a Dead Bloom Predator, drawing an extra card, which is very important in the Yi matchup. So this card is exactly what I want to have in my champion slot. It's also cheap. So as you might have seen, I'm not playing a lot of units. I'll explain why later on, but I'm not playing a lot of units. And so having a cheap unit that you can drop early on when you miss on turn 2 in your starting end is something that's very good. And also most of the time, what I use this card for is to attack, because it's basically the only card in the pool of blue-green cards, units, that is very, very, very good at attacking. Most of these cards are like defensive tools or like buffs or anything, but they're not like very good at attacking. Like let's say this Poro, it's a good card to defend. This student, Ravenbloom student, is good to defend because you can like hold and then you play a buff and they get to 5. It's decent to attack, but this one is so much better to attack. So I love this card so much. It's so good. Now let's get into the deck profile. So what I was telling you before is units that outmight their value are very important in this deck because of this effect. This makes you gain 1 might advantage over your opponent, and then every might advantage you can generate with your units is a might you will not need to generate through your spells. So 3 Stalwart Poro and 3 Ravenbloom students. These guys are the 2 best turn 1s in the game, in my opinion. Turns out you can play both, so you should probably do so. These guys are very insane. This guy is very good at defending, but a bit weaker against Kai'Sa. This guy is probably the best one out of the 2. He's like able to attack, to defend, and something really good, really important with this card is this card with any buff goes over Kai'Sa's damage. So if you play this or this, the card gets +2 from the buff, and then it gets +1 of its own effect. It gets to 5 might, and 5 might is a very annoying value for Kai'Sa because most of her spares deal 4 or 3. So these 2 cards are very good. And the other turn 1 card I'm playing in the game, in the deck, sorry, is Pinecone, which is a card not all of you might know because I think it's severely underplayed, while it's one of the best cards in the game as of now. So this card is a hidden card, so you can hide it, which reads, whenever you play me, give a unit -2 might this turn, so -2 might this turn, to a minimum of 1. It's a 2/2 that burns a blue power to enter play. If you guys think Smokescreen is a strong card, if you guys agree that Smokescreen is a strong card, which I think we all agree on, Smokescreen is a really strong card. -4 might is insane, and most blue decks play 3 copies of Smokescreen. Well, if you think Smokescreen is strong, this card is literally a better Smokescreen. There's like no aspect of this card that is worse than Smokescreen. Why so? Smokescreen costs 2 energy and a power. Hiding this card only costs a power, so you already gain 2 energy. This card is -2 might whenever you target a unit, and it has 2 might. So when you play it from Eden, you reduce your opponent's might by 2, but you increase your own might by 2. So basically you're generating a gap of 4 might, which is exactly what Smokescreen does. But there's even more. These cards can be played from hand for 2 and a power to give you better trades. Like let's say my opponent has a Poro on field, like here. My opponent is on Yi, he has a Poro there, okay? I have Ahri in base ready to attack. I play Blastcone, this Poro goes to 1, alright? Now I attack, it activates shield and his effect, so he gets +3, he goes to 4. Ahri's effect brings him down to 2, and then it's 3 versus 2. And your opponent will need to boost his Poro for it not to die for free. Once you resolve the situation using its effect, you still have a body that you can either use to go to a battlefield and like once again tempo, all that stuff, or something really interesting I like to do in the deck, you can also retreat this card back to hand, then you generate a mana, and next turn you burn that mana to hide this card again, and once again you're using Smokescreen that you can recycle. So this card is legit insane. This is, in my opinion, one of the best cards in the game, and it's severely underplayed, and it should be played more. I think in the upcoming days of the game it will be played more because this card is very, very insane. If you have not tried it, try it. It's broken. And now for units, I have 5 more true units and 3 more fake units. As I told you before, what's really important in this deck is to be able to accelerate, to gain tempo, gain score points, and be ahead in the game, even if you're going second. Well, these cards are exactly what you need to do that.
They are very cheap accelerates, so for 4 and a power, or for 3 and no power, you can spawn an active sprite. And the only problem with the sprite is that it will disappear whenever it's your turn to play. But with cards like Blastcone Fey, you can use the sprite to go to a battlefield. So use this, generate a sprite, go there, and hide Blastcone. And then when it's the beginning of your turn, sprite triggers to disappear, you chain Blastcone, sprite disappears, you still get the point, you still get the hold, and you have the battlefield. And then you can maybe do something like play Raven Bloom, retreat this, hide this again, whatever. You have so many ways to tinker your turns with this deck. It's like so cool. Also, both of these cards are very good against Kai'Sa, like all of these cards. Because if you have, like, let's say a Poro and a Hidden Blastcone, if they want to activate a blast spell, they cannot target your Hidden. So let's say you have a Poro and an Ahri in base. They go Falling Star, target this. You can just like protect Ahri with a buff. And then flip this. Poro dies, but you still have the hold of the point. They still need to attack you to get it. And like, it's very good into Kai'Sa too. So these cards are like insane into Kai'Sa. Obviously, Sprite Mother is 2 because it spawns 2 bodies whenever you play it. So Kai'Sa had a tough time removing both. And Sprite Core is just a cheaper, worse Sprite Mother, but still a very good card. That also gives you an Hidden support, because you will see that I'm playing more Hidens in the list. And the last body that I'm playing in the list is the Eager Apprentice. This card is when I'm at the battlefields, your spells cost 1 less energy. This is the best compromise you can do, because sometimes you have like 6 mana open, and the only thing you want to do is pass, because like your end is something like Smokescreen and Discipline and Hang Wards, and you're like, okay, but I need so much energy to play these cards that I should just keep 5 mana open and pass. Well, what you can do with Apprentice, if you have like something like Poro here, is for 3 you can drop Apprentice here. So you did not lose so much tempo because you have an extra unit on board. And then you still have 3 mana, but since your spells cost 1 less mana, this one is 1, so tap 1. This one is 1, so tap 1. And this one is also 1, so tap an extra, and you could play everything. So it's an extra way to value your runes and still being able to use your spells. Also, it's not too bad to not drop a turn 1 in the deck when you're going first. Like, let's say I'm first, I do not hit any of the 2 energy cards, then I pass. Not too bad, it's okay. You can very well take over the game from this point. But when you're going second, it's a bit worse, because like your opponent plays a body, then you can't play anything because you don't have a 3 energy unit. Then your opponent plays another body, like let's say whatever, any unit, and move this one, and then only you can play, but he already has 3 points, like the point for conquer, the point for conquering next turn, and the point for holding, which is a bit much. So it's very important to have a unit to play going second, not that much going first. And most of the time you don't want to play Ahri, Blue Ahri, because as I told you before, she's very important later on in the game to contest points. So you need to have a unit, and that's the reason why I added these cards, because going second you can drop them. It's not the best, of course, but it's still something that you can have to play. And it means you have all of these cards that you want to drop going second, which is a good enough amount of cards to make it stable that you have 1 in your hand, especially if you mulligan for it. So that's it for units. Was everything clear? Interesting? Too long? Let me know what you guys think, and feel free to ask questions once again. And I will go through the spells now, which, as you can see, and by the way, I've considered this a unit, as I told you. So if you want to be serious about it and be like, spells are spells, spells are like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 25. 25 out of the 40 cards in the deck are spells. Let's start with the main cards. Hangward is very, very strong. Very important to be able to generate might advantage, as I told you before. And discipline is even better because it's a card advantage. Then there's also Stupefy and Smokescreen. So these guys are the heart and soul of your deck. Come at me, I will break you down. Come with like 8 might Dead Bloom, it will die. It happens so often to me that I got like Raven Bloom in the battlefield and mana open, and then my opponent goes, alright, Dead Bloom Predator. So drops an 8 might unit here. And I go Ahri Legend, so it's now 7. Then I go like Smokescreen, so it's neg 4. It's now 3. And this guy gets +1 because of a spell, so it goes to 3. And then they're like, ugh. So this trades for 2 mana, and they tapped 8 and they burned 2. So very, very, very strong cards. These cards are the heart and soul of your deck. Other thing I want to mention is the ability to ignore cards in your deck building. Might seem a bit complicated, let me explain. These cards are cards that you can consider as not counting towards probabilities, towards odds of drawing your best cards, because these are so good that whenever you have them in hand, you will play them. They are good in like basically every game, and cheap also. And they draw a card, they replace themselves. Basically, I could say I'm playing 34 cards, or 33 even without the champion, in the main deck, because these cards, whenever I get them, I will play them and I will draw an extra card. And so it's very important because it allows me to play like so few units, because when I need a unit, I will have a unit in hand, because there are so few cards in my deck that are bricks and that will stay in my hand until I play them. And that's also the concept behind this card, Consult the Past. This card is utterly broken. For a power, you can draw 2. This is legit broken. In Yu-Gi-Oh! This card has been banned set 1 and has stayed banned for like 25 years. Drawing 2 is utterly broken. It generates so much value, it's so cheap. This adds to the amount of cards that do not count in the deck, and so you are playing basically a 30 card deck, which means you will see your smoke screens, you will see your mother sprites when you need to end the game with an accelerate, and so on and so on. Something you can also do with the book is that it can be hidden, and so having these cards in the main deck is very interesting, because once your opponent has seen this card, this guy, he has like a mental trigger of, okay, hidden in this deck is 4 might difference. Games that I was like this, and I just hide this like face down, and I do not need card advantage. I have cards in hand, but my opponent is like, okay, so this is a pan clone, so if I attack, I take -2 from this Ahri, then -1 from the legend, then -2 from this guy, and it's 5 might in the battlefield, so it's total -5 might, and you have to come in with like 11 mites to win the trade. But it's just a book, and you keep it there, and for like 2 to 3 turns, it forces your opponent to play around a card that does not exist, and whenever you need card advantage, you can just activate it. So playing these together makes both even stronger. I think you guys have understood already, but it's a deck that's very centered around interacting with your opponent and like bluffing, baiting interactions, forcing him to boost and stuff, and just like winning every trade, even if it's like you just win because you have 1 extra card in hand, but you traded the board or whatever. It's what you're looking for. And then comes the toolbox of the deck, which are 2 charms. Sometimes important, but not in early game. Charm in Ahri is not the same card as it is in Master Yi. In Master Yi, you will want to drop it early on to force your opponent to crash into your bodies and gain tempo. In Ahri, Charm is more of a late game tool, and that's why there's only 2 in the deck, because I consider that with all the draw power that I have in the deck, I will draw it whenever I need it, but I don't want it too early on, or it will stick to my hands, and I do not like that. Most of the time, Charm is like, okay, I have this guy plus a pine cone, I go Charm, you come here, you lose 2, you lose Legend, you lose 2 again, you lose 5, you die. later on to deal with big bodies. Or something that I often do is like they are on 7 points. You start your turn, you were on 6. Like the whole game, they held here and you hold here. So like they are on 7. You start your turn, you get to 7. But next turn, they get to 8. Well, what you can do is charm. Move this unit in base, like not trade here, because if they have mana or something, it can be complicated to kill it if it's a big unit. So you can just charm, move their units in base, and now what happens if they conquer here, since they're on 7, they cannot win. They have to conquer both battlefields. So they will need to commit a unit to conquer here. Of course, they draw a card, but it's like way better than losing, right? And they will also need to come and trade this battlefield. Else they lose the game because you are holding, and next turn, if they don't do anything, you get to 8 points. Sorry. So Charm is more of a late game tool in the deck, which I like, but I don't think is as fundamental to the deck's success as it is in Mastery. There's of course a Retreat, which is decent into Kaisa and a decent game 1 card because it generates runes, which sometimes you're missing a bit because you are using your power cost too much. It generates runes and it allows you to bounce both these guys to end. Cards that you want to play again, right? Cards that have a power cost, so you can play them again for free. You negate their power cost by like ramping with this. Both cards are very good to play again, and something you can also do with Retreat is play around the ability of the Ravenbloom Student, which like you gain +1 whenever you play a spell, right? And then Retreat is most of the time a side deck card, a card you side out when you're not facing Kaisa, of course. And then the last cards in the deck, which is probably one of the best cards in the game, one of the best staples in the game, which is Defy. Insane cards. Having the ability to play this in your main deck is just so much of an advantage for green decks that I think that it kinda justifies playing green on its own. And you have Big Brother Windwall in the side deck too. So that's it for the main deck. Getting into the side deck. So talking about side deck, there is something we need to talk about, and it's matchups. Because what I want my side deck to do is add cards to my main deck that will 100% win me matchups that can be tough. Because the main deck needs to be like always good. Sometimes cards are mid, but like they are still playable. You need to have only playable cards in your main deck. Side deck is different because these are cards that will not see play if they're not good in the matchup. So what I want is extremely focused cards that target specific matchups and crush them down. And that's what I did with this side deck. First thing is 2 Dr. Mundos. So as you guys might have seen when I was going through the list, most of the cards in this deck are like 1 or 2 energy. I think the average cost of this deck is like 2 energy. So you have the ability to stack a lot of cards in your discards for Mundo, and like you can reasonably hope for a Mundo with like 25 or more mites, which is extremely strong, and you can reasonably hope you will draw in every game because you are drawing so much that you will see this guy. So I'm playing 2 because I don't want to open 1 and be like, I cannot mulligan this card because I need it for the late game. But you could potentially play 1 in the main deck if you are facing a lot of cases. But still, this card is like very good into Kaisa, very bad into like yellow matchups because Hidden Blade, Cold the Weak and stuff are like tough. But like in the Kaisa matchup, it's a 100% win card when you hit it in the right situation. Then comes this guy, which is a bit of the same reasoning, the Adaptatron. I did a short video about why this card, which is seemingly trash, is apparently good in the metagame. And I tell you what it is. I've played against Aurora E and Aurora MF last Saturday at Locos, and I crushed both. So this card is very good in these matchups. It's a good way to stabilize your win rate against Aurora, especially when they high roll and like they go Catalysts and you don't have Defy, and then they can play Aurora the next turn. Well, you have to be able to drop this card to still be able to compete in the game. And the last card is Windwall. Windwall is kind of a way to stabilize matchups. Like, if you're playing against like Yellow Victor, something you can be very scared about is them going like turn 1 2 match unit, whatever. Then turn 2 Vanguard, which drops 2 token. Then next turn Victor Champion, Yellow Victor. And then they crash everything. They have like 5 tokens and they go Grand Stratagem and you lose the game. If you drop Wind Wall on this timer, you just win instantly because you have the board state already. They use 5 might, they burn 3 runes, and they get nothing out of it. So it's very good in this matchup. It's also sometimes very important in matchups where cards that burn 2 power are used. Cards like Rebuke or Leona's signature spell. And there's a few more that I don't have in mind right now. So it's a way to stabilize some matchups. And also, it's a good card versus Kai'Sa, because most of them are putting back Catch and Rain in their main deck to try and counter Rampy and its big bodies. And you sometimes are very happy to have the ability to win wall a Catch and Rain, because it basically wins you the game. Like, you could win without it, but it makes it so much easier that it's fine to have this card in the deck. We've picked the Legend, we've picked the Champion. There's still something that needs to be picked out of the main deck. These are runes and Battlefields. As I've told you before, one of the main things that are important for Ahri are cards in hand, and not energy, not runes. So I play 3 Battlefields that are draw power Battlefields. So the idea is to generate as much card economy as I can, to always have cards in hand to threaten my opponent, that if I have 4 mana open during your turn, I will use them and you cannot come and fight me because you will lose this fight. Sometimes it's not true, but you will see that a lot of this gameplay revolves around like poker stuff, and it's very, very cool to play. So, game 1, I'm almost always going Zones Warrens. So for those who don't know, Zones Warrens is when you conquer here, discard 1, draw 1. Game 1 is most of the time the toughest game, because this battlefield is the only one that does not generate card economy. It just cycles your end. You discard 1, draw 1. So you do not generate a +1. But on the other end, it allows me to play a lot of toolbox that is like very good main deck wise, like Retreat, but sometimes not good in several matchups. And like, let's say I'm fighting against Yi, I can just like discard Retreat and draw another card game 1, and then game 2 and 3 I can side deck these cards, so they go out of my deck and I bring in better cards to fight for this matchup. So it's a good way to play very generic stuff in the main deck, and also it's not a map that's too benefiting to other legends. So this is a good map to blind into a matchup and find a decent amount of answers in your deck. Now, the remaining pool of maps depends on the result of the first. This map is for whatever game I'm going first. So this map reads, when you hold here, draw 1. It's for whenever I'm going first, because I told you it's very hard for my opponents to attack my battlefields when I'm ahead in points. So I'm going first, dropping Poro, then he goes whatever he wants on the board, drops a unit, then I move here, and I'm in there, and it will be very tough for you to stop me from doing like 2-3 cards with this map alone. So this is for when I'm going first, be it game 2 or game 3. Most of the times, this map helps you win the first one, and then I play this one, which is literally Exodia for my deck. This map says, the first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here, each turn you can draw a card. And why is it so good? Is because there are so many spells that target in this deck that you can activate it almost every turn, one time during your turn and one time during the opponent's turn. And that generates so much card economy that it kinda balances the fact that you are most likely going second when you're playing this. The cards that allow you to draw are obviously Retreat, that you can activate on your own units, obviously Vanguard draws, Discipline draws, and something very, very important you have to consider is this card to Stupefy. Most of the time, like let's not say 100% of the time, but like most of the time, I use these cards on my own bodies. Because if I have any card in there, like let's say Poro, my opponent plays his unit, like whatever, and says, okay, I'm going to conquer here. Now you know it's early game, he's on like what, 3-4 runes. It most likely does not have a way to accelerate, and if it does, you still have the power with the Ahri effect to defend. So what you can do here is using these cards, so tapping a mana to target your power and then draw 2. Because you draw 1 because of Stupefy, and then you target it in there, so you draw an extra card, and then you draw 2. You generate card economy once again, and it's very, very strong to dig into the deck and find what you are looking for. So, game first, dropping this, then I win. Game 2, going second, and then if I happen to lose game 2, or if I lost game 1, then I'm going this game 2, but if I happen to lose game 2 in this setup, then game 3 I'm going this, and I'm starting and I'm going there. It's a very, very strong combination of 3 battles. So these are the 3 maps, and then regarding runes, I'm just on like 5 green and a 7 blue. If I was to like just think about what ratio of runes I want to see, I would probably play 4 green and 8 blue, because there's a lot of blue burn in the deck. But my problem with that is that if you diminish the amount of green runes in your rune deck too much, you are facing the issue of having to defy sometimes very crucial cards, like catalysts in mid game or something like that, and not having a green rune. This is a tool that is used to calculate probability in mathematics. It will allow you to calculate the odds of something happening. So let's say right here, I want to be able to defy my opponent on turn 2 going first. So I need to have at least 1 green rune. If I have 12 runes in my rune deck and I have 4 green runes in said rune deck, I'm drawing 4 runes because it's turn 2, I'm going first. So at first 2, then I ramp 2 at the start of my second turn. And I want to have at least a green rune. So that's basically what I told the calculator. You can just hit calculate, and then it will tell you the odds of having at least 1 green rune in the 4 runes you revealed is like 85-86%. But if you increase this amount a bit and you go to 5 green runes in the mana deck, then you go to almost 93%. So it's like 8 or 7% increase. And it basically means in almost every game you play, you will be able to defy on turn 2. So if I were to only consider the amount of each color I want to have in my mana deck, I would probably play 4 green and then 8 blue. But considering this stat, I have to play a 5th green rune and then only 7 blue, which is fine. I've never encountered a game situation where I was missing one of the 2 runes to burn. What happens sometimes is that I was missing runes, like in the global sense. I was hiding too much, burning too much, and missing runes. But missing a specific color never occurred, so I think this ratio is fine. So that's about it for the deck profile. I've tried to go a bit in depth. If you guys are not familiar with what I do, feel free to drop a follow, because this is the kind of content I'll be making from now on every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Paris time. In-depth content, analysis, tech decks, explanation, deck building, mathematics, and so on to help you understand Riftbound better and maybe become a better Riftbound player or a TCG player as a whole, because I think a lot of these skills are transferable from one game to another. I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's where I learned most of these things. So this is the list I've just showed you. Feel free to ask anything you would want to talk about. Feel free to try it yourselves. It's very, very good. It's a bit complicated though. Not gonna lie, it's a bit technical. If you make mistakes and you lose bodies you should not have lost, you will probably lose the game. I think it's hard, but I think if you like TCGs, if you like interacting with your opponent, this is something you will very much like to play.